In the world of gaming, how you defeat an enemy can say a lot about your character. Sonic is fast, so he speeds through his foes with reckless abandon. Crash is kooky, so he spins his foes away. Kirby is adorable, so he devours them and sends them to his pocket dimension of endless despair. Out of these methods of defeat, jumping on your foes is probably the most iconic way to beat the minions in gaming. Since it's so iconic, it has many variations, such as ground pounds. Today we're talking about the iconic weapon drop, made famous by Scrooge McDuck in the 1989 game DuckTales, based on the Disney Afternoon show. I could go on about the legacy of this game, but importantly for this video, Scrooge's pogo cane isn't the only time a hero has pogoed off his enemies, such as in the juggernaut of indie games, Shovel Knight. Both these weapon pogo adventurers have been compared before, but I'm here to give my thoughts on who would win between Scrooge McDuck and Shovel Knight. My name is Mr. Catface, and this is Catface Versus. What matchup do you want to see me cover in the future? Comment them down below and make sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. I focus on versus debate and discussion and power scaling questions. The only rule here is to keep it civil. Okay? Let's go. We're gonna start with the richest duck in the world, Scrooge McDuck. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. You might solve a mystery or rewrite history in DuckTales. Woohoo! Jokes aside, Scrooge really has done a ton in his long history. Starting as a comic character and turning into a mainstay in the Mickey Mouse crew, Scrooge has a lot of material to cover. Despite such a long history, most of the series are consistent with one another, with the exception of the DuckTales reboot in 2017. Nothing against that show, but it is clearly not the same Scrooge from the comics, cartoons, and games. Scrooge is canonically close to 155 years old. There's a lot of time there to be accomplished, which Scrooge is. He's made his money by being tougher than the toughies and smarter than the smarties, and he made it square. Scrooge has fought soldiers, wizards, monsters, ghosts, and all sorts of world-ending threats, all in search of money or for the sake of his family. This has given him decades of experience fighting just about any kind of threat you can imagine. He's a genius at fighting, mastering martial arts like karate and games like chess. He's known more for outsmarting foes than straight up overpowering them, but he's capable of striking them down with any number of his weapons. His most iconic weapon is his cane, which he uses to smack foes around or pogo off their head. Funnier than that, Scrooge loves firearms, specifically his dual Colt 45 Peacemakers. Yes, Scrooge is packing heat with a collection of handguns and shotguns at the ready, and even military-grade tanks. Money's power after all. He has more than just realistic weapons though. He has sleep spray that puts foes to sleep, the multiplicator which duplicates himself, the spectrification gun which makes him intangible, anti-magic magnification ray which makes him resistant or immune to magic while buffing himself, and portable prisons to trap foes. But even that stuff is tame compared to two of his more famous gadgets, the anti-inertia gun and the neutral friction ray. These do exactly what's described in the tin. They remove inertia and friction from the target, essentially making them unable to move or dodge. He also has a stopwatch, which stops time, allowing him to attack uncontested. The Omnisolve, trademarked, is a liquid that can dissolve any substance to nothingness, except diamond for some reason. He's able to carry all of this himself, using the hyperspace pocket, which allows him to carry anything he needs with him at all times, meaning he could pull a tank out of thin air, if he really wanted. Now Scrooge may not always have every weapon he's ever used on him at all times, but given the hyperspace pocket, he can reasonably get them if he ever needed them. With all the wacky weaponry out of the way, how does his power compare? Well, DuckTales isn't quite as outlandish as some of its peers. While Mickey Mouse can casually move stars and such, Scrooge is relatively more grounded. I did say relatively, as he's still no slouch. Even at a small baseline, Scrooge can completely shatter large rocks with his cane and beat basically any wild animal, firmly putting him no lower than wall level. This goes higher when enraged, as he is able to tear apart a riverboat with just his bare hands. This is just looking at the original comic run though. The 1987 cartoon really showcases Scrooge's unrelenting strength. He just one-shot huge monsters and can survive his entire wealth landing on him. That's billions of tons crashing onto him, and he's completely unfazed. He has survived all manner of explosions and crashes from his pilot, Launchpad, ranging from building level to town level on their own. His most impressive crash was when he and his money bin fell from orbit. This has been calculated to be anywhere between 38 and 800 quadrillion joules of energy. That would put Scrooge's potency in and above the strongest bombs in history. This is consistent as other characters he fights are considered mountain level as well. He has contended with gods, such as Aphrodite and Storkules, the latter of which can bench press the planet, though Scrooge isn't anywhere near as strong as him. But the fact he's able to keep up is impressive. He's also directly compared to Darkwing Duck as they met several times and are shown to be comparable, especially since both have a launch pad. Darkwing Duck can no-sell attacks from a 240 gigawatt laser cannon and survive being blasted to ashes. Darkwing Duck also jumps to the moon, which brings up speed. Scrooge has dodged bullets, natural lightning, electricity, and all manner of lasers. Darkwing's moon trip is nearly the speed of light, which actually matches up with Scrooge's light speed lasers that he not only has, but can dodge. Clearly, Scrooge is no joke for being a 155-year-old businessman. Scrooge, despite being named after a grouch, is a family man first and foremost. He'll do anything to protect his family and seemingly has. He'd even give up his #1 dime, which is apparently capable of taking over the world. Even that power isn't enough to stop Scrooge McDuck, the richest duck in the world, in both wealth and in family. Next is the chivalrous Shovel Knight. Coming from the 2014 game with the same name, Shovel Knight has become something of a legend in the realm of indie games. It's hard to think of an indie game character with as many crossovers or as much influence. Obviously, we're sticking to Shovel Knight canon, so his appearance as an assist trophy in Smash Bros. Won't be buffing him up any, assuming that would even affect his scaling. He does have a few crossovers that are considered canon, but we'll talk about them when the time comes. Shovel Knight is an adventurer who is devastated when his partner, Shield Knight, apparently died during one of their quests. He picks himself out of retirement when the Enchantress threatens his land. With his trusty shovel by his side, no knight standing in his path can stop him. His shovel is his most iconic weapon, being his main weapon of choice. It can be swung like a sword or dig into the ground to blast dirt at the opponent. He can even take a page out of NES Link's book and bounce off an opponent's head. Can't think of any other place you could have possibly gotten that from. He has a ton of other items though too. The Fire Wand casts fireballs in front of him. The Phase Locket allows Shovel Knight to become intangible for a moment. The War Horn unleashes a powerful blast around Shovel Knight. The Dust Knuckles are great for punching through solid rock over and over and over again. The Propeller Dagger rockets Shovel Knight through the air while slashing his enemies. The Chronos Glass stops time for a moment when he enters a room. The Phoenix Feather activates upon his defeat, healing his wounds and destroying all enemies around him, but it can only be used once. The Incredible Throttle Chalice has a variety of effects when drank from, including healing him completely and making him temporarily invincible. The downside to these items is that most of them use up magic points, and Shovel Knight has a limited pool of magic. That's why he carries potions on him that both heal his wounds and restore magic. He also has different armors that give different effects, like boosting his shovel drops or giving him higher resistance. He also has gold armor, which does nothing, but it looks very snazzy. No matter the armor, he is bound to his code of chivalry. This code was put to the test against a variety of powerful adversaries, such as the Black Knight, who is his exact equal. Anything Black Knight can do, Shovel Knight can do as well, and vice versa. He also fought giant robots piloted by Tinker Knight. He can even fight Plague Knight, who is a video game protagonist in and of himself. Speaking of, Shovel Knight has also run into other video game protagonists, such as the Battletoads and the Ghost of Sparta himself, Kratos. These aren't crossovers, they're in his game. He went from fighting Mole Knight to Kratos. Crazy. So Shovel Knight must be crazy powerful, yeah? Well, as a low baseline, he's able to super casually punch rocks to dust. That's easily wall level by itself. Even just the force of his suit of armor plunging downward with a shovel would be in that same range of power. Some other magic weapons can do a similar amount of damage. The best feat comes from Spectre Knight's campaign. Black Knight, at the start of his boss fight, completely destroys the floor underneath Plague Knight and himself. When calc, this comes out to over 1 billion joules of energy, or in the building level ranges of power. Remember, anything Black Knight can do, Shovel Knight can also do, at the very least. Shovel Knight wins against Black Knight all the time, even when he's in stronger forms, so Shovel Knight should have no problem recreating this. Black Knight can also summon meteors from the sky. Based on their speed, these could also get into building levels of power, making this pretty consistent. Now Shovel Knight's greatest foe is the Enchantress, who he couldn't beat alone. Once he was reunited with Shield Knight, it was only together were they able to beat her once and for all. So how powerful is she? Well, there are some clouds covering the map in the game, which float away once Shovel Knight reaches that point. Is this the work of the Enchantress, and is Shovel Knight clearing these clouds? Surprisingly, I've seen the sentiment floating around when talking about the scaling, but no, this is not a feat. Enchantress did not create these clouds, and Shovel Knight isn't doing anything. This is a nothing argument, and I don't know why I've seen it as much as I have. His speed is easier though. Shovel Knight can dodge cannonballs from point blank range, being subsonic on its own, but it gets upgraded to massively hypersonic when we take into account him dodging natural cloud lightning strikes as well. Good stuff from someone wearing a giant suit of armor. With the code of chivalry held up and his partner back by his side, Shovel Knight can rest, knowing he has saved his land once again. Until the next crossover when he has to fight Tai Lung or something. Seriously, this guy might be in contention for the most crossovers of all time. So who wins, the Richest Duck or the Shovel Knight? I know I say it in the title, but this is just completely one-sided. This matchup has been covered by others before, but the truth is, it's an even bigger stomp than anyone could have predicted. Shovel Knight has basically no shot of ever beating Scrooge. Speed-wise, the slowest Scrooge gets is massively hypersonic, which is as fast as Shovel Knight can get. Scrooge is at least 500 times faster than the Knight, and it only gets worse from here. Sticking to small-ish advantages, Scrooge is much more skilled and has way more experience than Shovel Knight. Scrooge has fought foes who basically have everything Shovel Knight can do, and more. But how does Shovel stack up in terms of power? What do you think? Building level is the highest of any defeats in the games can get, and that pales in comparison to the semi-consistent mountain level feats from DuckTales. If we took the highest end of building level and the lowest end of mountain level, then Scrooge would be exactly 50 million times stronger than Shovel Knight. There's no amount of changing armor or upgrades that can make up that difference. It actually gets worse for Shovel Knight when we look at their items. Shovel can go intangible, but so can Scrooge. Shovel can stop time, but so can Scrooge. Shovel can go invincible, but what can that do against someone who is millions of times more durable than your strongest attack? Compare that to Scrooge's weaponry that can instantly put Shovel to sleep, completely stop him from moving, or instantly melt him into nothing. Scrooge's items are just more absurd, like duplicating himself dozens of times over, compared to Shovel's items, like a fishing pole. This is on top of the fact Scrooge has the anti-magic magnification ray, which makes him immune to magic. That eliminates basically all of Shovel Knight's items. The only thing that might hurt Scrooge is the Phoenix Feather, but that can only be used once, and it's hard to justify it actually destroying Scrooge when all it has been shown to do is destroy small blocks and monsters. Even if it could destroy anything, Scrooge's speed, smarts, and gadgets would be enough to dodge or nullify it. Now, I hear what you're gonna say. Shovel Knight beat Kratos. This isn't a random cameo, as the creators of God of War have said multiple times that it is canon. Now, it doesn't actually make sense for this to be canon for either series, and it isn't supported at all by Shovel Knight's, but let's make that argument. Scrooge has Kingdom Hearts scaling, which I won't get into. The point is, as absurd it is for Shovel Knight to scale to Kratos, Scrooge has equally absurd scaling. At this point, we're losing the point in the matchup. All I would say else on this subject is, this is how Scrooge deals with wolves. And this is how Kratos does. Is this Kratos catching a stray for no reason? Yes. Will I take it back? No. But I did just say we're losing the point of the matchup, and the point has always been the pogo bounce these two share. So does video game Scrooge beat Shovel Knight? Well, it's the same Scrooge as the show, which we've already established. However, even if we just use feats from the game, Scrooge fought Count Dracula Duck, who grew to a massive size. His attack potency here, which Scrooge can contend with, is around multi-city block level. Even just using their platformers, Scrooge is still hundreds of times stronger than the Knight. This tale is over. Well, that was the video. What'd you think about it? How strong do you think Shovel Knight would be if all his crossovers were canon? He's fought everyone between Kratos and Tai Lung, which I find very funny. Let me know and drop a sub so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, this is Mr. Catface, signing off. God bless.